What's up, guys? This is my states, and for this video, it's gonna be about West Virginia. I know it was a little too fast because we did Virginia yesterday, and now we're doing West Virginia. I know it's a little too fast, but now we're doing it. Okay, so let's get into it. So West Virginia is a state it's like in the east of the United States. It is landlocked though. It's landlocked between Virginia, Ohio, and Virginia mostly. Ohio is actually landlocked. It does have access to Lake Erie, but if you don't want to be landlocked, you have to have access to an ocean, or you have to at least have access to at least the sea. But anyway, West Virginia is landlocked, but it borders many states. It borders Pennsylvania to the north. It borders Virginia to the east. It borders Kentucky to the southwest, and it borders Ohio to the west. The capital is Charleston, and it sits right here. And Charleston is the city that has the most tallest buildings. And Charleston sits on the river called the Kanawha River, and there's also another river that Charleston stops by, and this river is called the Elk River. And we can even show you what Charleston looks like right here. When you're on this bridge in Charleston, it looks like you're in Washington. It kind of looks like Washington D.C. Because for those, if you guys have ever been to Washington D.C., like the Maryland, Virginia, like the Virginia, Washington D.C. part, you can kind of know that it looks a little similar. And Chase is a founding business in West Virginia too, and not just West Virginia, Charleston too. And we can even show you the Kanawha River. Okay, let's get a good look. Right now, you're looking at the Kanawha River. How do you pronounce it? Let's see. Kanawha River. And then there's the Elk River. The Elk River flows near the border with Pennsylvania, but eventually the Elk River empties into the Kanawha River. And then it keeps making its way up, and it passes through Henderson too. And then the Elk River empties into the Ohio River. Anyway, before we start doing before we do most of its geography, first I'm just gonna tell you some fun facts you probably didn't know about West Virginia. Sometimes West Virginia is nicknamed the Mountain State because West Virginia, I'll just give you a hint. West Virginia is the complete opposite of flat. And I'm pretty sure you know what I mean when I say that. And if you don't understand what I'm trying to say that West Virginia has a lot of mountains. West Virginia has the Appalachian Mountains. It starts from mid-Alabama, and then the states that have it is Alabama, Georgia up in the north, Tennessee down in the east, North Carolina, they have it. South Carolina isn't flat. They have a couple. And then Virginia has a lot. And then West Virginia too. Maryland is mostly flat. But if you go in Garrett County and Allegheny and Washington, there's a lot of mountains there. So Maryland is also included. And Pennsylvania. And a little bit of Ohio too. And New York isn't far behind. And Pennsylvania, if I didn't say that already. But sometimes West Virginia is nicknamed the Mountain State, if you didn't know that. And the capital is Charleston. And it's actually the 35th state. Okay, now let's do some more. If you guys didn't know this, if you guys know what Mother's Day is a day where you celebrate your mother. Most people would think Mother's Day would be first in California, but believe it or not, the first state to celebrate the first day in Mother's Day was actually in West Virginia. Yeah, search it up. Because the first Mother's Day, the holiday that was first ever invented, was in West Virginia, if you didn't know that. It was probably around Charleston or Beckley. I'm pretty sure it was probably Charleston, possibly Morgantown too. And if you didn't know, West Virginia was the 35th state, which is not much of a fun fact. It's kind of just a fact. And then if you guys know what the Golden Delicious Apple is, it was discovered in West Virginia. The Golden Apple was discovered in mid-West Virginia, I think. Yeah. And we'll do one more, something you didn't know about West Virginia. The first roller free delivery program began in West Virginia. Actually, West Virginia had a lot of good stuff. Some people think that West Virginia has nothing in the state, because when people look at it, people don't really like West Virginia, and I can kind of see why, because the healthcare and the education for kids in West Virginia isn't exactly right. Because West Virginia it's not crappy to live in. It's not crappy. People say West Virginia is so bad because okay, maybe the healthcare might be bad and the education might be bad and the crime might be a little above the national average. But on the bright side, West Virginia it might be most forest, but West Virginia is cheap to live in, and the cities are really calm and they might not be that vibrant, but they're calm, they're nice, and there is white people saying the N-word. But West Virginia has a good scenery, and there's a lot of it is very cheap to live in. That's why a lot of people are moving to West Virginia. It has a lot of mountains, like the Appalachian Mountains are in the east of the U.S. But West Virginia isn't entirely bad. A lot of good things originated over there, and there's still a couple famous people from there you'd probably know. And now we're going to be talking about the population of West Virginia. We all know the population of, if we all don't know what the population of Delaware, the population of Delaware is actually not a million, surprisingly. It's like 900,000 something. But it does show Delaware is a pretty small state. But what this has to do with West Virginia is like 5 times bigger than Delaware. And six times bigger than Delaware. And the population is only 1,000,007, almost 2 million. And I know 2 million is more than not even 1 million. But what I'm trying to say is West Virginia is kind of big. But when you compare it to Delaware, it's very big. But you'd expect a bigger state to have a lot more people, right? But no, the population is 1,783,000. So there's not that much people living there, and it kind of shows. Now, some of you guys, if you guys have been to West Virginia, you guys are probably thinking West Virginia might have mountains, but it's just forest, and there's no big cities. Wrong. People think that the only big city in West Virginia is Charleston, but I'm about to prove them wrong, because on TikTok, people always say, oh, Charleston is so ugly, and it's the only big city, and there's nothing else to it. West Virginia might have problems, but don't all blame it on West Virginia. People hate Louisiana, but every state is always going to have problems. Even the best states, like, for example, Vermont. Most people say Vermont is good, but Vermont has a lot of problems. Every state always has problems. The only reason they say it's good is only because it's slightly better, and it's just their opinion. Opinions, they don't matter. It only matters about the fact. But I'm about to prove them wrong. Okay, so I'm just gonna name big cities, and I'm gonna do every single one. And even though it's this one, we're still gonna do Charleston. Charleston is the capital, and it is a big city, and it shows. But you guys watching this video are probably gonna say he only knows Charleston. There's so many big cities I can name right now. Okay, and then there's Charleston is one, and then there's Morgantown. Morgantown is actually pretty big, and it is vibrant, if you ask me. Morgantown is if you don't know what it is, Morgantown is a city in West Virginia, northern West Virginia, near the border, not too long from the border with Pennsylvania, and it sits right on the Monongahela River, which flows from Pittsburgh. It starts in Ohio, it flows to Pittsburgh, and it just goes to West Virginia, passing through Morgantown. Yeah, so Morgantown is the second one. And then this one isn't really a big city, but we're just going to say it anyway. It's not a big city, but I just want to say this one. Red Jelly. Red Jelly is it's not really a city, and we'll include Carpendale both. Red Jelly and Carpendale are not really cities, they're just towns, but it's right near the border with Maryland. It's right by the city called Cumberland, which is in Allegheny County, Maryland, which is northwest of the state of Maryland, and it's right on the border with West Virginia. It's just separated by this lovely river called the North Branch Potomac River, and we'll be talking about that river later in this video. But that's not all. Don't worry, I have a lot more cities up my sleeve if you guys do not know that. This is not much of a big city, but we'll just include it anyway. Berkeley Springs. Berkeley Springs is a city not too far from the border of Maryland, and like I said, it sits it doesn't sit too far from the Potomac River, and it sits right now. It's close to this town in Maryland called Hancock. It's like a little border town, you know. But we're not done yet. Now we're actually gonna do big cities. So there's Charleston, and then I said Morgantown. Now we'll do Huntington. Hunting. Most of you guys might think West Virginia doesn't have any tall buildings, and some people say if they do, it's only because of Charleston and Morgantown. But with this city, Huntington has pretty tall buildings. If you pretty much ask me, and when I mean tall buildings, I don't literally mean like skyscrapers like the ones in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Boston, Kansas City, St. Louis stuff. Not like those. I'm just talking about like average tall buildings. I know every state has a tall building. Every single state in the United States has a tall building. There's not one. Even Vermont. Vermont has tall buildings. Not tall, much tall buildings, but they have one tall building, which is probably bigger than a building in New York, and I can guarantee that. But anyway, Huntington is a little city that sits right on the Ohio River, which is named after the state Ohio, and it sits right on the border actually from Ohio. It's like a little border city. It's like a city, and it's like and the Ohio River is bordered by the two states, West Virginia and Ohio. And the city close to West Virginia that's in Ohio is three. There's two. There's Chesapeake and there's Brentwood. Brentwood is they're just like a little north up Chesapeake. It's like 3 minutes away. It's basically, if you guys know Parole, Annapolis, it's basically driving from Parole to Annapolis, you know? So it's really not that far. It's really close, honestly. But Chesapeake is a border city town in Ohio. We can actually show you Huntington, and we can also show you the Ohio River while you're at it. Okay, as you can see, you are clearly looking at the Ohio River. It really doesn't look like it's filled with filth, and the Ohio River is surprisingly safe to swim in because there's not much as bad animals in it, and it's not like the Wicomico River, which is filled with filth. It is pretty clean to live in. It can get dirty sometimes, but it is pretty clean. It's not much dirt. But now we are going to show you Huntington, but I need to get like a good view because I want to show you the whole entire city. And as you see, if you look behind Huntington, you can see like a little bit of mountains, you know, if you can see them. Anyway, now let me show you Huntington. Okay, this is a good one right here. I'll show you Huntington. Right now, you're looking at Huntington. This stupid sign is in the way, but we'll just move. Okay, right now, you're looking at the tallest building in Huntington, not the whole state, but just the city. Huntington, West Virginia, and right now you're looking at the Ohio River. See, Huntington is another city. And then the biggest university is Marshall University, right north of downtown. And now I'm going to name another one. Another one is Parkersburg. And Parkersburg has pretty tall buildings. It has a little, not much, but it has like a little, not much. Anyway, this city is bordered by Ohio, by the town of Belpre. Belpre is a city in Ohio, and it's bordered by the Ohio River, and it borders Ohio. And we can even show you this city called Petersburg in beautiful modern-day West Virginia. Okay, so before I show you the river, I'll just show you the city real quick. Okay. Here, you're looking at Parkersburg, West Virginia, and down there is the Ohio River, where you were just looking at last time, and down there is Belpre. And then we were just talking about this river earlier. It's the Kanawha River. The Kanawha River is a river that starts like a little south of Charleston, but then it empties into the Ohio River. Like it passes through Charleston and so many other towns, and it also passes through Parkersburg, and eventually the little Kanawha River empties into the Ohio River, and the Ohio River keeps flowing. And look, this is right now, that river you see right there, that's the little Kanawha River. But the river you see here, this is the river emptying into the Ohio River. Oh, we can even see it enter it too. Okay. Let me show you what a river looks like when it enters another river. Okay, right now this is the little Kanawha River. Well, now we're looking at the Ohio River. Okay, now we need to look that way. Anyway, now I'll do another one because I don't want to. I'm okay. I'll just do a couple more because I don't want to run out of time for this video. We'll do one up north. Let's find one. I had a really good one. I just need to find it somewhere in the map. Okay, Beckley. We can do Beckley. Beckley isn't really much as like a big city, I'd say. It's not small. It is vibrant. The population is average, I kind of say. But Beckley does not have much as good education. But they do have the biggest airport in the city, which is the Raleigh County Memorial Airport. But Beckley is another one. And now that, that's it. Those are the big cities. We'll continue. I'll say some more in a YouTube short video. Okay, now we're going to be talking about when was West Virginia founded a state. West Virginia was founded in June 20, 1863. The reason why it was found a little later than the other states is because West Virginia, if you guys didn't know this, West Virginia was actually part of Virginia. Yeah, West Virginia was the colony of Virginia, and I can there's really not a reason how West Virginia became a colony of Virginia. It's not really a reason. It was just part of Virginia before, but then they just wanted to be their own state. And we'll be talking about that right now. The reason why West Virginia wanted to break away from Virginia is because the capital, Richmond, was all the way in the east, so it was hard for them to travel. And not just that, but it was hard for them to travel, especially with the mountains blocking them in the way. And the capital was in the east, so they had to get through so many obstacles. And they felt like they were neglected because even though Virginia owned West Virginia back then, West Virginia thought that it was neglected, and many West Virginians felt in the legislature and overtaxed and shortchanged in state spending, and that's why they fought for independence, and that now they're its own state. So West Virginia was part of Virginia for a time, but then it broke off from Virginia, and now it's its own peaceful state, and that's why it was found a little later than any other states. And now we're going to be talking about rivers in Virginia, and now we're going to be talking about not the Ohio River. Now we're going to be talking about the Potomac River. Okay, so I already said this before, but I'll just say it again for the new people. The Potomac River is a river that starts in the Chesapeake Bay and flows up into Maryland and Virginia. Like I said in the last video, the reason Maryland owns most of the river because most of the river is in Maryland. Because that's why Maryland owns most of the Potomac River, because most of it's in Maryland, but it is also in Virginia too. So the river flows into the border with Maryland and Virginia, and it passes through Woodbridge, which is a city in Virginia, south of Washington, D.C., and south of Alexandria. And eventually the Potomac River makes its way passing through Alexandria and Arlington. And the Anacostia River is a river that starts in Maryland and it empties into the Potomac River. And then the Potomac River passes through Washington, D.C. And then it passes through a little town in Maryland called Brookmont. You probably heard of it. Probably you haven't. That's okay. The Potomac River keeps going up north. Eventually, it reaches northern Maryland, and eventually it makes its way up here in the mountains area, and eventually it makes it to Cumberland. Cumberland is a city in Maryland, which is not too far from which is like a couple of minutes to drive to West Virginia because it's pretty close to the border, and the Potomac River is right here. We can even show you it. Okay. Right now, you were looking at the Potomac River. But now it changed names. It's the North Branch Potomac River. Okay. That'll be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.